Good morning. Welcome to your Sunday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. Feels like this is a little close. Gonna back it up a smidge. There we go. So, hope you're all having a good Sunday, given that we're just getting it started. Good morning to whomever just popped on. Welcome. Glad you're here. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, bringing you some wisdom for your day, something to think about, talk over with people, strike up a conversation with yourself about. Good morning, Beth. Glad you are here. Welcome. Everybody's starting to roll in. There's Cindy. Good morning. Good morning. And Lucy. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. I hope your Sunday's off to a rousing good start, whether it's a cup of coffee or tea or just sitting there in your snuggly jammies, whatever's working for you. So today we have a card from the Allowing Prayers deck, which we haven't had in a while. Siobhan Nash, 57 Invitations to Spark a Conversation with Your Soul. So, shall we have a soul conversation today? Good morning. Good morning, Ruth Ann. I've already wiped out my first glass of water. Yay me. Glad you're all here. So, our card for today. First, I want to show you the back of the card because I just think they're so cute. Little bird sitting there just pondering life. So, kind of looks like we dressed together today. Our card is Allow Empathy. Allow empathy. And there's two questions, and Cindy, if you wouldn't mind putting them in the feed for us, I would greatly appreciate it. So I'll give you the first one, and we're going to ponder that for a little bit, and then I'll give you the second one, ponder that for a little bit, and then we'll see where this takes us. So our first question is, where are you currently withholding empathy from yourself? Where are you currently withholding empathy from yourself? Oh, how I choose a card deck. Most of the time I muscle test. So there's 3 stacks of card decks, and I'll just go 1, 2, 3. And then when it's solid, that's the one I'm going with. Then within that column, 1, 2, 3, whatever number stays strong, that's the card deck that I pick. Then in terms of picking the card itself, I just sort of knock the energy, the old energy out of the cards, shuffle them up, just sort of do the, okay, Spirit, which one do we need to attend to today, and pull that card out. And that's how I pick them out. Some people spread them all out and kind of run their hand along them to see where the energy shifts. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. Some people just go once in a while, very rarely, but once in a while, I just have a sense that we need a particular deck and we need a particular card, and then I might pull that way. But in general, it's muscle testing is how I choose the card. So thank you, Cindy, for posting our first question. Where are you currently withholding empathy from yourself? Where are you beating yourself up? Where are you calling yourself names? Where are you reading yourself the riot act? Cracking the whip over yourself? What areas of your life? For some of you, it may be body stuff, your weight, your whatever it is. For women, oftentimes that your body becomes the battleground on which you fight out all of your ambivalent energy about yourself, okay? It can also be beating yourself up because you're not making more money, or beating yourself up because you don't have a partner, or beating yourself, all that crap. Pick one. Where in your life are you currently withholding empathy from yourself? And right now is such an odd time in our society because it's so flagrant where we are not sharing empathy with others, where we're sitting in judgment, where we're okay, so there's Cindy's, how you reared your kids. Gotcha. Yep, pick one. We all probably have a laundry list of them, don't we? Pick one. And with the amount of vitriol that I see people flinging at each other in this day and age, I can only imagine with horror how much of that they're flinging back at themselves, right? So I'm still reading my Jamie Kern Lima book, Believe It, and it's just at a point where she's become wildly successful. Her cosmetic company has been bought out by L'Oreal for $1.2 billion cash. She just was invited into this very exclusive group of people, CEOs from beauty companies, and she just won an award. She was invited to sit on their board, and she just won an award for kind of like the not the most up and coming, because she's already up, but like an achievement award kind of a thing. And she's sitting on this fence of, because she now has to give an acceptance speech. And she didn't sit on this fence very long, but she then had to prepare herself to deal with what the fallout was going to be. Instead of giving the nice, I want to thank this person and that person and this person. Good morning, Diane. Welcome, welcome. She did do some of her thank yous, but then she put out a call to action. She held the beauty industry accountable for their depictions of women and beauty, and called for them to do better, called for them to use real people in their advertising, etc., etc. Now, back when she's doing this, she was the only cosmetic company that was doing this, and everybody else had the airbrushed, totally perfect models that don't look like any of us, right? So she really called out the industry, and the shit hit the fan. There were death threats, there were all kinds of negative fallout because she was holding her industry accountable. So there are things where how we do this. I mean, we're certainly learning this from taking the war out of our words, aren't we? How do we kindly and lovingly hold others accountable and hold ourselves accountable? Where do you find yourself not only withholding empathy from yourself, but withholding responsibility? Well, it's not my fault because, whatever the thing is, it could be clutter clearing. It could be getting into a healthier state. It could be, all manner of things. Beefing up your relationships so they have depth to them, right? What excuses do you use? What excuses do you use? Because that sets you up to be not empathic with yourself. When you know you're pulling the wool over your own eyes and it ain't working, right? You're going to be more harsh with yourself. And it's kind of an endless loop. What was chicken and what was egg? The harsher we are with ourselves, the less likely we are to make permanent change. We just get into that endless loop of self-defeat and, and it takes us nowhere. It's to me, it's kind of like dieting. 2% of people across diets 5 years later have maintained whatever they gained from that diet. 2%. What an exercise in futility. We can do better, people. We can do way better. Definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Self-acceptance. Yes, Abigail. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so there's our first question. Where are you currently withholding empathy from yourself? Second one, how can you give yourself the same compassion you bestow on others? How can you give yourself the same compassion you bestow on others? We're far less likely to call anybody else a name, right? How often do we call ourselves a name? I had a client at one point who, highly successful woman, but because of how her father had treated her when she was a kid, that some of that stuff was still lurking in the memory banks. So she accidentally dropped something in her kitchen and said out loud in the presence of her son, "Pick it up, dumbass." And then caught herself and was like, wow, where did that come from? And so we did some healing around that. Call yourself out. Gently, kindly, lovingly call yourself out for when you're doing the number on yourself. And sometimes people will do that for us. Man, you're hard on yourself. They'll give us a cue that we're doing it, right? It has a seductive quality to it. It has an addictive quality to it, that beating up on ourselves, that never allowing ourselves to be good enough, etc., etc. And you might want to take a look at, why am I not willing to afford myself more compassion? Why am I not? And I'll guarantee you there's some delusional thinking behind it. It could be, I'm afraid if I let myself off the hook, I'm just going to become this slob that lays around and does nothing, blah, blah, blah. Listen to those words. Listen to those words. Perceive you could have done better in the past. Yes, yes. So can you also add in the other piece that we conveniently choose not to look at, which is we're learning all the way along in this process. We are learning, and we are human beings. We are going to make mistakes. Some of them doozies, okay? Some of them doozies. Exactly. That's true also, Cindy. One of the things that I have seen with people over the years is this interesting tendency that develops as kids of, I'm going to beat myself up first, and then that'll preempt anybody else beating me up. It's so painful when someone else, like a parent, is critical, right? You want to devastate a kid, say, I'm so disappointed in you. Okay? I'd much rather have the parent say, okay, you screwed something up here. What did you learn? What did you learn? Do you think it'll happen again? Is there something else you can change so that it's less likely to happen again? Perhaps that kid doesn't even think it was a screw up. Because parents, by that point, are so in their conditioned self believing it's terrible, horrible, awful to make mistakes. Kids being in the place early on of, nope, that's just how we learn. Look at a kid learning to walk. Stumble, 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 fall on your butt, fall on your head, cry a lot, get back up, pull yourself, go, go, go. What if adults, if we hung on to that? What if we hung on to that? Yes, and look at that, Carolyn. Look at that. I was never good enough for my father because I was a girl. So you've adopted his lenses. You've taken on his lenses. How have they served you over the years? Do you think maybe it's time to get rid of those lenses? Women. I was just reading this in the book, and I had read this elsewhere. The research studies show that a man is willing to make a decision and step into a role, a leadership role, when he has 60% of the knowledge, wisdom, skills that are needed for that particular role. He's willing to step in there and screw it up and learn and move on. 60% of the skill set, the knowledge, the wisdom. Women are hesitant to step into a role like that until they are 100% certain they've got everything they need to make it happen. What does that do in the long run? It keeps a whole lot of women out of leadership positions. That's what it does. And when you put women in leadership positions, when they are willing to, okay, I'll take a shot at it, and let's say they're 80% ready, okay? Yes, exactly. That would be most of us. They're going to have much more self-doubt, lack of willingness to just plow ahead, make mistakes, etc. And the circle around them are likely to be less tolerant of their mistakes. Ain't that interesting? So Ginger Rogers could dance backwards in heels while Fred Astaire was dancing forward in flats, and everybody would call out if she made a mistake. Look at what she's doing compared to what he's doing. We expect so much more of women. We expect so much more of women. Good. Glad you recognize that you are at that point right now. Here is your opportunity. So it's kind of that same point that Jamie Kern-Lena was in with the book where, okay, it's time to accept my award. Do I just do the nicey speech and accept my award and move on with my life? Or do I take this opportunity to shake up the status quo, make myself some enemies, and see what I can do to affect change? Huge change, all right? Now, most beauty companies use a variety of models. In her world, that was not how it was. She was the only one who was doing it. So, are you brave enough to stand in the arena? Are you brave enough to be in the arena, as Brene Brown says, bloody, sweaty, injured, doing it, making stuff happen, and plug your ears to the people sitting in the cheap seats. They're not dirty, they're not bloody, they're not sweaty. They're just sitting there with their beer and their popcorn, calling you out for what they think you're doing wrong. They're not doing anything. So, why would you accept the opinion of someone you wouldn't trade places with, whom you really don't respect because they're not doing anything? They're not in the trenches doing the work. All right? Why would you accept their opinion at all? At all. And again, women get hooked in there because we're supposed to be nice and we're supposed to have everybody like us and all that stuff. There's reasons why that doesn't work. It holds us back big time. So I'm also going to make the suggestion that because we tend to hold ourselves back until we're much more prepared, we are far more likely to succeed. Women-owned businesses are far more likely to succeed than men-owned businesses because, again, we don't start them until we're damn sure it's going to work, right? So it's a double-edged sword. But think about that. Rather than waiting for 100%, what if we jumped in when we were 80% sure we had it figured out? What if? What if? What if? There'd be a whole lot more women-owned businesses. There'd be a whole lot more women in leadership positions. There'd be a whole lot more change in the world that we want to see. So, are we willing to do this thing? Are we willing to create enough empathy for ourselves that when we try something and we fail, quote unquote, pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, pat ourselves on the back for being willing to try it, learn what we needed to learn, move forward again. Oh, it's raining out. That's good. We need some water. Yes, building the plane while we fly it. Absolutely. And increasing our tolerance for imperfection. One of the things that I learned about software companies that I just thought was so interesting, there was this, the Success Magazine often did interviews with people about who were highly successful, CEOs, etc. And there's one woman where they interviewed her, and I can't remember her name, unfortunately. It was a fabulous interview. But she talked about, she has many businesses. One of her businesses failed, a software company, precisely because she held on to her stuff too long before launching it. Have you ever noticed that when there's an update to your programming, they come fast and furious when it's a new program? Why? Because we're the guinea pigs on whom they are testing things. It's like, okay, it's good enough, put it out there. We start complaining about what isn't working. They fix it. They fix it, and pretty soon they have a well-honed machine, whatever that software is. They do not wait to launch. They do not wait to launch. They let us bat clean up for them, all right? I'm not saying that's the way to do everything in life, but I'm saying we certainly could do much more that way. Well, this is pretty good. I'm going to put it out there and I'll fix it as we go. Again, building the plane while we fly it. Try this. I know it is dreadful, uncomfortable, but get your cortex working. There's a reason why I'm doing this earlier than I typically would do it in the past. Here's why I'm doing this. Here's how I'm going to hold myself accountable for getting it out there, getting it done, the good enough job, and then tweak it after the fact. And I know some of you, your toes are curling in your slippers, right? I get it. But, and I'm a perfectionist. I mean, poor Morgan, who's been working on this Lightening Your Load project with me. We're just about ready to launch, which I'm really excited about. But I'm the person who's in there picking at every little thing that's off just a little bit. Okay, Bonnie, good enough. Get it out there. Get it out there. So, today we are allowing empathy for ourselves. We're going to tackle some things. Let's try some things that we're going, I have no idea how to do this. So, my sister just dropped a message in earlier as we were talking here, asking about a project that we have to work on that we've been putting off because, again, we don't know exactly how to do it. So I'm going to reply, let's just get the materials, let's just do it. We'll see how it goes. So let's all practice today. We're practicing our empathy. We're practicing our empathy for self. We're practicing our empathy for others, because how many of us also then slide into judgments? Lots of judgments of lots of people. Even if we don't say them out loud, lots of judgments. Let's get off the judgment train. Who are we to judge someone else's path? My sister was talking about someone yesterday that we know in common, and she said she just has to do it that way. She just has to make these mistakes. They are part of her path in life. Yes, 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 yes. Good. Be willing to be perfectly imperfect. Put yourself out there exactly as you are. There's no way it can fail. Because again, in the famous words of Mary Kay Ash, we fail forward to success. We fail forward to success. So, have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye.